I'm telling you, man, I'm big into visualization.
You know what that makes it, right?
I do. It's a visualization sensation. I try to do that with golf. Like there's a pre-shot routine, which is, right? Visualize it.
Yep.
Nice. And here's what I'm visualizing right now. I love that the Niners play on Saturday night. Sunday sounds so damn relaxing.
Man.
If the Niners have already put the biscuit in the basket. I don't know what the Ravens and Texans are going to do early in the day. Watch out for that game, by the way. Watch out for that game.
Speak to that.
Just watch out for that game.
You can't just say watch out for it.
I will speak to that.
Put your name on it. What are you calling here?
I'm calling...
a Texans cover. It sounds like they're getting the 9.
I'm calling a Texans cover, yes.
Current weather is 28 degrees at M&T Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
Frosty, partly cloudy,
I think
with a chance of Lamar.
I think the Ravens will win. I think the Ravens will win by 7. But I also think it's going to be enough to where it is in doubt at the 10-minute mark of the game. 10-minute mark of the game, you still got a one-score football game that could go either way. I think the Texans are a little young. This is a little bit of an assignment that's probably more than they can handle, but I think that they are 1 or 2 good bounces away from putting the scare into the Baltimore Ravens. The Texans defense, led by someone we very much respect in DeMeco Ryans, has been playing opportunistic football, ball-hawking football. You saw it against the Browns last week. Now, Lamar and Joe Flacco are 2 completely different animals, obviously. Lamar's much harder to defend. But if Houston can get a turnover and really do something with that turnover, I am such a believer in C.J. Stroud and those young weapons that he has, even with Tank Dell out. Nico Collins is a future star in this league. And the weather, sure, outdoors, that's a thing. The Texans have played, we were going over this yesterday, their outdoor games this year, mixed bag. They've had some games outdoors in the division where they scored a ton of points.
Loss at Baltimore in the opener, 25-9.
Right.
J.K. Dobbins torn Achilles.
Right.
Season over.
C.J. Stroud's first ever game.
Correct.
Yeah.
Win at Jacksonville by 20. Loss at the Panthers, 15-13.
Weird one.
Bit of a stinker. Divisional. Win at Cincinnati by 3.
30-27.
Yep.
That was a game where they had to keep scoring, and they did.
Loss at the Jets, 30-6.
That one was, that one got sideways.
Win at Tennessee, 19-16.
Yep.
And then that's it.
But similar to what we say about the Green Bay Packers, I think that the Houston Texans have become a little bit of a different team here in the last 4 weeks or so. And there is something to be said. A lot of times when we get into this rest versus rust conversation, here's what we're actually talking about. When a team has had 3 or 4 straight weeks of, we got to win, you can get on a roll. And that is Green Bay, and that is Houston. Like, they've essentially been playing playoff games already for a month, and they've been on a roll. And I do think that matters. Baltimore's the better team, but a couple of bad bounces from this one being even, Steven, in my opinion, and I do think we're looking at a 1-score football game.
Yeah, I wonder how the Texans respond to the conditions because it will be cold, and there'll be a little bit of wind, and I think this is the first game that we mentioned that they've had these adverse circumstances, and I think that Baltimore, they might get Andrews back, the tight end. I don't think they're going to need him. This feels like it's going to be a 2-score victory for Baltimore. I think Baltimore's real, and I think that the Texans, their chariot turns back into a pumpkin in the frigid climes of Maryland.
AFC's Final Four, it's all 4 division winners, and it's going to be tough, man. That is going to be a slog to come out of that Final Four.
You mentioned Sunday, and I think you're right in terms of how the Sunday could be. If the Niners win Saturday, then you wake up Sunday and you handle all your business, and even if it spills into the Tampa-Detroit game, that's fine. 3:30, Kansas City at Buffalo.
That's a moment, yeah.
The first game is great. All 4 of these games, I think that this is the best weekend in pro football, better than Super Wild Card Weekend. I prefer this weekend because you've got the 2 best teams, and every other team has won a game. Mm-hmm. So you've got the real 8 playing for a spot in the conference championship. So you get to that Sunday spot, 3:30 our time, and oh boy, that game is as much of a watch party game as the Niner game.
No doubt. And I invite all of our listeners to do a little bit of a Manning cast type of a thing if you want for the second half of that football game. It'll actually be me and Ephraim Salam.
Ephraim.
Yeah, Ephraim is back just for this weekend.
Back.
Yeah. Kyle's got to take the day off. And so Ephraim Salam and I will take you through the second half of that football game right here on the air. And that'll be a whole lot of fun. But listen, if the Niners go ahead and win, that Lions-Bucks game, I know it's not like sexy on paper, but I love that vibe. Like just that's what I'm trying to visualize.
Right.
Like you're chilling, the Niners won by 14, and your feet are crossed, and you got Daisy Dips out, and you're sitting there with your chips and your beer, Farmers Brewing Company, and you're sitting there.
Sell it all, Mark.
Right? You got
You got it all at Safeway.
It's all set. Yeah.
Sure.
You bought it at Safeway. Your feet are crossed. And hell, let's get some more sponsorship. You're sitting there with a Nike on one foot and an Adidas on the other foot, and you're just sitting there watching who's going to come here next weekend. And that's that feeling that I want, because, man, the opposite would be a disaster.
Yeah, you don't even maybe watch the game.
It'd be a disaster.
I mean, if you watch it, you hate watch it, and you know that no matter who wins that game, they're not going to be coming to Levi's, and whoever wins that game would get a chance to host, because the Packers are the 7.
Correct.
So
that's correct.
If Green Bay were to pull off the shocking upset here, it's either another Detroit home game or, God forbid, Tampa Bay.
Host Green Bay.
Battle of the Bays in Tampa.
Get out of here.
It doesn't seem plausible.
Jared Goff's got to come home. That's got to be the NFC title game. It has to be.
You'd figure.
It has to
Detroit by 6.5. It feels like Tampa Bay. I talked about the Texans' chariot turning into a pumpkin. It feels even more the case with Tampa Bay to me, a team that I think was maybe the least of all the playoff teams, and yet they got a great matchup against a Philadelphia team that had shut it down.
All right, so where's the upset this weekend? Or do you not see one?
I think it's Kansas City at Buffalo.
You think so?
Yeah. If I was, it's the smallest spread, so that's the safest pick.
Sure.
But something about Patrick Mahomes, and I know he's never done what he's going to have to do, win a playoff game on the road.
Play a playoff game on the road.
Well, he's never done either.
Yep.
So you have to play one to win one, and he's never played one, so he's never won one. And right now the weather at Highmark Stadium is 20 degrees, even colder than in Baltimore. So you're going to have another cold one. Something about Josh Allen and the giveaway against Patrick Mahomes and a Chiefs team that's just found a way to get it done time and time again. I would tab Kansas City as the most likely team to pull off the upset.
I mean, I think you're right, both by math and emotion. But I'll tell you this. I would put a healthy amount that the 4 home teams are going to win these football games. But if there's one that really, really wouldn't surprise me, my answer is going to surprise you. It's Houston.
Yeah, I can see that.
That to me is the game that feels a little wobbly as far as the flow and the matchup. Houston's got a little something going now. And you look at what they did last week. I know it was weather controlled and it was a home game. I understand all that. But I just keep in mind what people were saying about the Cleveland Browns at the start of last week. I heard a lot of people not only think that Cleveland was going to easily win that football game, Joe Flacco, bee's knees, best defense in football, they're going to go to Baltimore and give Baltimore everything they can handle. I knew a lot of people who thought the Cleveland Browns were going to be in the Super Bowl. And they got torched, and run off of the field. Houston can play.